think happy.
Hello random person, Sab Nino here. You all know Funko Pops, right? You know, Funko Pops. If there's one thing I've learned about the internet, it's this. People either love Funko Pops, or they hate them. I'm in the middle. I personally judge each one based on design. I've seen some great Funko Pops, and I've seen some ugly Funko Pops. And SpongeBob nowadays is absolutely no stranger to them. And since they recently just launched a batch for the 25th anniversary, I thought, why not do a tier list? I have collected some of these Funko Pops myself. I know some of the trend in terms of designs and what works and what doesn't. Why not just rank all the Funko Pops? Because I don't think I have seen a video ranking every Funko Pop of the SpongeBob line. Okay, first off, we have Interpretive Dance Squidward, the first Squidward Funko Pop from the 2019 comeback. If you didn't know, Funko Pops of SpongeBob started as early as 2013, then took a big hiatus, then got brought back in 2018, and continued ever since. Even though I don't own this one personally, I think they definitely updated a lot from the original design. It's a little weird how the new line just started with an interpretive dance Squidward opposed to updating the 2013 line, which I personally wish they would have done, if I'm being honest. But as is, I'll give it a good. Definitely not my favorite, but it's definitely a good Squidward. Next up on the list is Patrick, with the wooden board on his head. These images are very tiny, so I don't know the actual names of these Funkos. Honestly, I like just about everything about this design, but his mouth. His mouth just looks drawn on. There's not a lot of depth to it. Personally, I would have preferred like an upper lip like Patrick often has. He kind of has like an overbite, just to give it a little bit more dimension, because otherwise he just looks like an emoji to me. But it is an iconic moment in SpongeBob. It's both a meme and a recognizable aspect of the show, which is personally what I wish most of the meme-based merchandise aim towards. Things are just coincidentally a meme, but not directly referencing the meme. But in terms of the Funko Pop itself, it's alright. Here's Imagination SpongeBob. This is the first Funko Pop that I actually owned on this list. Except it's not this one in specific, but I got the Pride version since I just saw it at a Hot Topic and I thought it was really cute. They had the Pride version, which I say out of all the Funko Pops, it makes perfect sense to include this one in the Pride line, and a glitter SpongeBob, which I'm sure some people would appreciate, but personally, I'm not really a fan. It just looks very messy to me. I'll be real, I think this might be the first legendary as Neptune one, because it looks like SpongeBob, it's a meme, but it doesn't directly reference a meme. You can separate it from the meme. Barnacle Boy. This one's a Comic-Con exclusive. I have a gripe with this design. I know this is just the issue with translating certain characters into Funko Pops, but he has no pupils. And because of his mask, they couldn't make Barnacle Boy's eyes like pitch black, so they made them just pitch white. They practically turned him into a zombie. I don't know how I feel about that design choice. It weirds me out, but then again, I don't know how else they would have fixed it. But the rest of the design is okay. It looks like Barnacle Boy as a Funko Pop. I'm just gonna go with alright. Christmas SpongeBob. I'm guessing this is the second SpongeBob Funko Pop I have ever owned. Honestly, it's cute. And it's a good Funko Pop to have during the holiday season, or just a general display piece. The only thing that kind of weirds me out is the mouth, but I'll give them a little bit of slack, because this was the first SpongeBob Funko they have made in a while, and overall I think they did a great job translating his design. I'm not going to dock too much points for the mouth. It's just a me thing. It's not a bother to anyone else. So I'm going to give it a good. Camp Coral SpongeBob. I have the entire Sponge on the Run line. Unfortunately, all three of them are damaged in some way because I don't know how. I just put them in a bag because I was running out of space, but I love the Sponge on the Run line for the same reason why I love Sponge on the Run. Well, okay, I think the movie's okay, but why I love it from a visual standpoint. Because with the new 3D style, they are able to showcase a lot more detail than they would in the 2D show. And with the Funko Pops, I think they did a wonderful job of translating all of the detail of the Camp Coral design into Funko Pops. There's like extra blush, there's like extra detail on the clothing. Overall, it's really well done. I say this one is as legendary as Neptune. Patrick has a lot of the same compliments I have for the SpongeBob one. The only downside I have is his face. I don't like his big goofy grin, it just pisses me off for some reason. Due to how much detail is put into it, I'd feel bad for calling it bad, so I'm gonna call it a good. And I say Squidward is as legendary as Neptune as well. Even though I personally do not like Squidward's design as a little kid in Sponge on the Run, he definitely looks appealing as a Funko Pop, and I'll give them props. Okay, we got our first OG, the original SpongeBob. Honestly, with a lot of the original Funko Pops, they look more chibi-fied than the later Funko Pops that they have made. He has no protruding cheeks, his ridges are a little smoothed out, he has tinier limbs. It's not the most accurate, but it has a lot of details that are correct about it, out of what I remember. I've never owned this, but I could make an educated guess. I'll consider this good, because we all have to start somewhere. SpongeBob's Pineapple and Gary. You know, I would have given this a good if it wasn't for Gary. His soulless black eyes do not translate into a Funko Pop. That's one of the downsides with Funko Pops. Since it's like a legal requirement not to have any pupils, sometimes you get cursed monstrosities like this. It's alright. If it wasn't for Gary, I would have given this a good. Giant SpongeBob. I've never owned this, but I used to know someone who has. First off, it's a little rubbery, out of what I remember. And second, I think they translated it decently well. It's nice to have a standard SpongeBob, not referencing any sort of meme. Just like with the Christmas one, I'm a little weirded out by the mouth, but most people won't have that issue, it's just me. I'll give it a good. Mermaid Man, another Comic-Con exclusive. He was paired up with Barnacle Boy in the Comic-Con exclusive line. And even though I have some issues with Barnacle Boy, I think Mermaid Man is the better of the two. Is it weird that he doesn't have a mouth? Sure, but it's not as egregious as like the Buzz Lightyear Funko Pop, for instance. You know what? I'm gonna give him an as legendary as Neptune here. The only Mr. Krabs Funko Pop. First off, he is way too boxy in my opinion. I wish they kept his buoy shape, and I think he is the perfect example on how these original Funko Pops in 2013 were more chibified. Because this does not really look like an accurate Mr. Krabs. This looks like a chibified Mr. Krabs. I'll be real, I think it's just too cute. I love cute things, don't get me wrong, but it's just too cute for such a rough and gruff character. I'm gonna give it an it's alright. Patrick. Oh boy, they've really improved upon him. I don't like how low his face is. I don't really like his teardrop shape. In How to Draw SpongeBob tutorials, they often say he's a teardrop shape, but I think this leans too far into that. It's alright. Sandy. The only Sandy representation, just like Mr. Krabs. There's so many things I don't like about this. Her eyes are just way too far apart, her head's too square. Even for a chibified version of Sandy, I think they could have done a lot better. I feel bad because this is the only Sandy, and I hope eventually they have a more accurate Sandy, because I know there was like a card game which had some characters that never got a Funko Pop in this new line, and I think Sandy looks pretty decent there. Sorry Sandy, I'm gonna have to give you a bad. Squidward. Honestly, a similar issue I have with Sandy. His eyes are just way too far apart. Also, I would have preferred if he had just annoyed-eyed opposed to just sad ones. Because look at him, I just feel bad. I feel so bad for him. Alright, here. Next up, we have Christmas Patrick. Personally, this is one of my favorite Patrick Funko Pops. He's just really cute and wholesome. I love him just sucking on his candy cane. The only issue I have with him is that he's rather muted, and I wish they would have brightened up the pink a little bit. That's super super minor, and I say this is legendary. Ninja Turtle SpongeBob. Well, it's our first instance of Plankton. It's weird that he's Shredder, but it's cool, I guess. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about SpongeBob crossing over with the Ninja Turtles. I feel like they only did this because the Ninja Turtles were just very popular at that time and Nickelodeon just acquired it, so they wanted to take advantage of it. But why not just make an exclusive Ninja Turtle thing? It's just a little weird. It's not bad design-wise, it's just a little off. It's alright. Fun SpongeBob. I've said this probably a few times already, but I love how it doesn't reference a meme and instead references a specific episode of the show. And a very iconic one at that. FUN is such a great episode and a great song on top of it. So I think it's wonderful that they made a Funko out of it. The only complaint I have is Plankton. Just like with Gary, I don't think the black eye really works for Plankton. I personally would have gone with a red eye or tried some way to include a pupil, like with the Ninja Turtles one. But honestly, legendary. Sweet victory, SpongeBob. I've said this in my What If Lego SpongeBob Made a Comeback video, but I think Band Geek is overhyped. It's a good episode, don't get me wrong, and Sweet Victory is an iconic moment of the show. I'm just sick of the Sweet Victory oversaturation, if I'm being completely honest. I say after the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon, we could just let it rest. Regardless of my feelings of it being oversaturated, if it wasn't oversaturated and we just had this and like a few other pieces, honestly, I think this looks great. It reflects the episode really well. Not much to say, it's just legendary. SpongeBob lifting weights. Again, just like was fun, it doesn't reference a meme, but it references just an episode. Specifically the first episode, so there's some history to it. The weights are super iconic, and I kind of miss them, to be honest. When was the last time we've seen SpongeBob lift stuffed animal weights? I'm guessing it's been a while, but we don't see them that often. I personally think it's legendary. Jellyfishing SpongeBob. Apparently, this is tied into like a charity thing with Rivet, an organization centered around accelerating and empowering young people leading social charge in their community. I say that's a worthy cause. It's cool to have SpongeBob associated with that sort of thing. In terms of the pop itself, it looks rather bare bones. It has the same face as the Imagination one. It really has nothing going for it other than the net. If you excluded the net, this would just be a typical SpongeBob Funko. But if I wanted a typical SpongeBob Funko and had money, I would have gone with the big one. One thing I think would have made it stand out is if they'd given him jellyfishing glasses. Really go with the jellyfish aesthetic. Maybe give him glasses, maybe a jelly spotter's hat, maybe accompany him with a jarred jellyfish. Instead of saying SpongeBob SquarePants, just make it a jellyfishing SpongeBob. I think that would have been cool. But as it stands, it's alright. I can't tell if this is a meme or not, but I personally don't associate it with the meme. It's a cute set, and if you had a best friend, you could give one of them to your best buddy. The only downside I have to it is that I'm starting to notice how much they love reusing the SpongeBob face on everything. Because we had it on the Imagination, we had it on the Jellyfish Net SpongeBob, we had it on Fun, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. And Patrick has the dumb, goofy grin on the Camp Coral one. You know what? I was gonna give it a good, but I think I'm gonna give it a relatively high alright. If it wasn't for the reusing of assets, I would have given it a good. Mocking SpongeBob. I do not like this meme. I think they are overhyping it to death. Plus, the meme's dead. The meme's dead. Why do they keep making merchandise of this fucking beaked face motherfucker? It's on pillows. It's on figurines. Now it's a Funko Pop. And all of this merchandise has come out once the meme has died. Let it rest. Let it go to meme heaven. I'm sick of it. Deeply sick of it. Get it away from me. Dirty barnacles. Doodle Bob. I know they only included him because of the memes, but I don't know. Personally, I don't care about the Doodle Bob representation because he is an iconic character. His limbs look a little thick, but I don't really know how they'd really be able to fix that as a Funko. Though I do find it a little humorous that they are selling you merchandise of something that you can just draw with a pen and paper. I say it's good. It's a good Funko Pop. A relatively low good. Ooh, ripped pants SpongeBob. I love this one for the same reason why I love the lifting weights one and the fun one. It doesn't reference a meme, but references an episode. And ripped pants is very iconic. And I am assuming that his pants are ripped from the back. This is from the new batch of Funko Pops they just announced, which led me to making this video. If I had a nitpick about one thing, I wish he had his swim trunks. I get why they put him in his tighty whities for the sake of the song. I think the blue boxers are just more iconic, personally. I'll get a little sentimental for a moment. Ripped Pants was my mom's favorite episode, and we used to watch it all the time just out of nostalgia, so I would definitely get this Funko Pop to commemorate her. It's legendary. Fry Cook Games Patrick. Why is there a Fry Cook Games Patrick and not a Fry Cook Games SpongeBob? Have it be like the best friend t-shirt SpongeBob and Patrick. That would have been cool. People would buy it. Why did it just have to be Patrick? Like, the design's cool, but it feels a little naked without SpongeBob, so I'll just give it an alright. I hate Primitive Sponge too. Dirty barnacles. I have seen a plush toy of this motherfucker. They are still using the meme even though it's dead. I don't mind them referencing Primitive Sponge, but first off, Sponge Gar is a lot more iconic, and second, they always reference this fucking pose and I am sick of it. They are overdoing it. I'm just done seeing this primitive grin in this motherfucking stance, and more often than not, they don't even get the title right. I've seen him be called SpongeGar. I've seen him be called Caveman SpongeBob, which is what this one's called, by the way. It's called Primitive Sponge, you uncultured swines! If I have to see one more new piece of Primitive Sponge merchandise, I will buy the next Primitive Sponge merchandise I see at the mall, and I'm gonna set it on fire. Okay, actually, no I won't, because I have a phobia of fire, but I'm so sick of this motherfucker. Let the meme die. Krusty Krab Pizza is the pizza for you and me. You know, when I first saw this, something about it just rubbed me the wrong way. Something about the face. That might just be because I am not used to seeing this design from the front. We have always seen it from the side. I think I'm just not used to it being in the front angle. It's more lenient towards the meme than the other episode references, but you can look at this outside of the meme and just go, hey, that's pizza delivery. Honestly, I would have included Squidward, because it's an iconic SpongeBob and Squidward episode. The episode wouldn't be as fun as it is if it wasn't for Squidward bouncing off of SpongeBob's antics. Plus, it's one of the rare occasions where Squidward actually stands up for SpongeBob, when the jackass fish didn't get his diet Dr. Kelp. So, I think including Squidward would have been great. I think it would have bumped this figure from good to great. Suds SpongeBob. This one is rather oddly specific. Suds is a great episode, but I wouldn't say it's as iconic as some of the other picks. Fun, I definitely get. Sweet Victory, I absolutely get. Help Wanted, Ripped Pants, all of those episodes are iconic. But the Suds? People remember the Suds, but has there ever really been many people that say that's their favorite episode? Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's a good episode. It's funny, it has great jokes, it gave us the iconic Han scene in the BDSM room, but I will admit, it's probably the weirdest choice for a Funko Pop. And this isn't the first Suds representation we have had in SpongeBob merchandise. There was also a Slimies, which I think is a lot more fitting than as a Funko Pop. I'll consider it good, just a very, very odd choice. And lastly, we have Glove World SpongeBob, specifically Rock Bottom SpongeBob, because he has his glove light, and even though he loses the hat in the actual scene in Rock Bottom, I do appreciate the inclusion, because otherwise it would have just been the same issue I had with the Jellyfish SpongeBob, where it's just the same face, just with an extra accessory in his hand, and that wouldn't have been that great. It does have the issue of having the exact same face as the Imagination, as the Friend combo, as the Jellyfishing SpongeBob, but it stands out a little bit more. I'll give it that. I'll give it a low good, because again, it is based on a relatively memorable episode. People will get the reference. Honestly, the only issue I have with it is the face. And that was my tier list of every single SpongeBob Funko Pop so far. I didn't include like the puzzles or the t-shirts or the hideous stuffed animals. Most of them are alright. There is quite a bit of alright, more than all the other categories, but if you climb up the good and the legendary as Neptune tiers, I say there's definitely a lot more good than average and even bad. The dirty barnacle tab is just because I am so sick of seeing these memes. Overall, surprisingly, SpongeBob works pretty well in the Funko Pop style, and I think that's one of the beauties of SpongeBob as a character. He doesn't have to look perfectly on model for him to look good. You can experiment, you can shake it up, you can partner with different brands like Monster, or that one Italian unicorn brand I forgot the name of. You see it everywhere. Those are fucking cute, and I want one of them. And the same sentiment can be said on Funko Pops. Does it always translate well? No, but that's mainly a downside of the Funko Pop style above anything else. Though, when it comes to the new wave of SpongeBob, the main critique I have with it is that first off, I hate some of the main choices, but I feel like that's just Nickelodeon forcing them to do it. And second, I want to see more characters that aren't just SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward. Give us an updated Mr. Krabs. Give us an updated Sandy. Hell, give us more iconic characters. Give us the Flying Dutchman. Give us Larry the Lobster. Maybe give us Mrs. Puff. Have like a cute set themed around Krusty Love. Don't be afraid of the duo sets. Some episodes are best in duo. The Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boys, those two separate Funko Pops, I think would have been better as one self-contained thing. Because what's the point of separating Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy when they're typically together? But what do you guys think of the SpongeBob Funko Pop? And what do you think of Funko Pops as a whole? Let's start a discussion in the comments. And specifically, what do you think of the new 25th anniversary line that I've added to this tier list? Do you think the picks they've chosen were good ones, or would you have picked something different? Again, let's start a discussion. And if there's any other tier lists you want me to do, then comment below. And as always, it's all Sab from here.